Welcome to the Esoteric Principles of Bodybuilding, and this is your co-host, Tyson Bannigan, the Illuminator, bringing you and humanity, hopefully, into the light. And today, we're going to be talking about creating the Ascension body with the one and only, the host of the show, Batista German, master bodybuilder. And there she is right up on the screen, so you can get that pronunciation and the spelling correct. So welcome back, and wow, this is an amazing topic, and wow, that must have taken a lot of thinking around all this, because Ascension, everybody's talking about Ascension, but really nobody really knows what that is.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what the physical body has actually to do with the process of ascension. And for me, it was just the absolute logical steps to take this 13-part series to this point, because isn't it what us light workers are actually waiting for? The new earth, creating the new earth, creating that body of light. But do we really know? Do we really know what that means? And do we really know what's happening to the body through this process?
So, well, I think for a lot of people, I think that it's an out-of-body experience. Or it's got nothing to do with the body. That it's it's a spiritual body. It's a light body. It's got nothing to do with this dimension. So we need to meditate and get out of our bodies. I think like you say, there's a lot of misconceptions. So when we talk about creating the Ascension body with regard to the esoteric principles of bodybuilding, people are going to say, "What? I don't get this."
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm about to break a lot of people's fantasies about this whole out of body thing, and we are just the spirits in the body, and we're gonna shed the body, and we're gonna die anyways, and our body is gonna decompose and become worms in the ground, and you know what I mean. So yeah. I'm about to break a lot of people's fantasies, because actually Ascension is not at all what that is. Ascension is actually transforming the actual physical body into a body of light. We're not talking about leaving the body behind, but we are actually talking about bringing the body along with, transforming it. So it's actually a very intense process that we are undergoing right now as we speak, because we actually have a contract. Our soul made a contract to come now at this time on the planet to undergo this transformation. So we actually came on this planet for this purpose, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
a lot of us forgot or don't realize, or we have like amnesia, right, when we come back on Earth,
right.
because of actually the reason why we have amnesia is because the original man in the ancient civilization was actually created with 12 strands of DNA. Okay, so when you have when in those days they had activated 12 strands of DNAs, then they actually, last time we spoke about the 12 chakra system, and the 13th one being the sum total of the 12. So the 12 chakras and the 12 strands of DNAs actually work hand in hand. So when we are activating the 12 chakras, we are actually also reactivating the 12 strands of DNAs. And that's when we are actually able to connect with other planes of consciousness and to actually create that body of light that we are wanting to create. So we came on this planet for this. So the way I see it is, on a soul level, when we decided to come on this planet on this planet to undergo this transformation. As a soul, we had an option, we had a choice to actually choose the circumstances in which we were going to be born. So I believe that we as a soul level actually choose our parents, the lineage, and the DNA in which we're born for the purpose of learning our lessons on this planet, and in this case and in this time for the ascension process. So the ascension process, what is the ascension process? The ascension process is really the cellular transformation that our body is undergoing right now as we reactivate the 12 strands of DNA to transform our thick physical body, thick matter, into a crystalline type of energy, which is the body of light. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And if anybody thinks that this is easy, it isn't, because the butterfly going through stages is, I think that this stage is probably when it's going through and wondering what's happening to itself. So I know when raising my Kundalini, if your body isn't prepared, if your physiology isn't aligned, if your structural adjustment isn't capable of carrying that energy through your neuromuscular fibers, you're going to be in a lot of pain. So that's where I see what you're talking about in bodybuilding and structural adjustment is absolutely necessary to create a strong conduit in order to carry this new light energy. So that's what I think.
You are absolutely right on. So you could compare, in past episodes, we have kind of used the analogy of like the house, comparing the house to the body, right? So we talked about like the electrical outlet that would represent the nervous system, for example, or we talked about where in this physical house that is the body with the emotions being trapped, etc. So I will use that same analogy of the house to put this into perspective if somebody wasn't quite understanding what's going on. It's like, imagine living in a house, okay? And now you're going to take this house and you're completely going to restore it. You're going to rehab it, okay? While you live in it. Okay? Well, you live in it. So now you're taking the floor down. You've got to rebuild the foundation because, the house is not retrofit. Your foundation is split, whatever. So now you're living in this house, but now you got to redo the foundation of the house. Okay, then you have to redo the roof. You have to redo the electrical outlet. So now your electrical is shut down because all the wiring is gone. Then your roof is gone. And now you got to redo the plumbing. So the plumbing is gone. You have no more water. And you live in this house while it's getting remodeled. That would be pretty inconvenient, would it be?
Yeah, it'd be not only that, it'd be painful and expensive.
Exactly. And that is what's happening to our body. Okay. So let me put it more into perspective in terms of how it works with the nervous system. So the nervous system, we talked about this in the second episode, I think, when we talked about grounding. The nervous system is the information system of the body. Okay. So in the body, it kind of looks like, you could compare it like a cobweb, okay, of energies and that communicate with each other and that sends information throughout the body. So as we are receiving more light and more of that energy, that love frequency, because the frequency that activates that transformation is the frequency of unconditional love. We talked about that last week, about reaching the 13th chakra, which is the seat of unconditional love. And that is the energy that doing that transformation. You know, crystal actually become crystal through a heating process, hot, high heat, and this is exactly what's going through our bodies. That energy of love is this unconditional, overwhelming, all. I experienced it once in my life. I was 16 years old, and that was the time when I left. I'm going back so you understand where I'm coming from. I was 16 years old. I told you that my upbringing was very Catholic and very dysfunctional. There was a lot of things happening, and at 16 years old, I decided to leave. I was looking for answers, and I was praying and looking for answers, and that's when I experienced that feeling of unconditional love, which is, you can't describe it because it's like literally a fire that burns, but it doesn't burn. But it's, never mind, I can't even explain it. But what happened is, I knew at that, I didn't understand at the moment what was happening, but I knew one thing for sure, is that if it didn't stop, then I would disintegrate entirely. That was it. If that feeling didn't stop, I would be gone. I would like vanish, disintegrate. And of course, I didn't want to do this. I was 16 years old. And so I asked it to stop. And at that very moment, it stopped. And for the rest of my life, I tried to recapture that feeling. You know what I mean? And it never came back, right? But now I understand the process, and I understand that that is that seat of unconditional love that transforms the body just like a crystal. It's like that fire force. But the physical body is simply not prepared to receive it and to hold on to that energy. It's impossible. So this process of cellular transformation is this preparation. It's preparing the body to actually receive that vibration and being able to hold it. Okay? So what I was saying earlier, to come back about the nervous system is kind of like that cobweb that sends information throughout our body. Okay? So that energy, that frequency, that vibration that is here to transform our body, comes from the 13th chakra down. We talked about last week of how the energies flow, but they enter the body through the sacral cranial fluid, and then they come into the body very much so like the nervous system, like the neurochemicals that make us feel good. Okay, but it's really very high frequency. Okay, and what's happening with this, it's transforming our body on a cellular level, where that web in our body is kind of detaching. So it's becoming not so dense. It's detaching and getting spaced like space. And then it still communicates through the body and through our etheric body, but through very light filaments of light, you know. So now
are you saying then that this body of light, or the light body, will carry the most of the transformative energy, but will have filaments into the physical body so that the physical body doesn't get overwhelmed? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but not exactly. What I'm saying is through this process, it's kind of like rebuilding the house. If you take the roof down, now you have a bunch of trash in your house that you have to take out before you can bring in the new roof. So it's kind of like that. So as this
Right.
transformation happens, we have a lot of debris inside our body that needs to be expelled and get gotten rid of so that the new energy can take place. So it's like that process of really rebuilding our DNA on a cellular
Right.
level, right?
Right.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, like there's some examples of spontaneous fire. Like you said, that fire was not hot, but you said, you knew that if that fire continued, that you would literally burn up, that you wouldn't be here. In spontaneous combustion with humans, all they find is ashes and shoes. I mean, the person literally goes up in smoke because their physiology of their body can't handle the fire within. And what you're saying is preparing the body to carry the energy, whether it's carried mostly in the outer part of our etheric body or other shells around our body, and some of it in our physical body. We have to rebuild our body, like rebuilding a house or remodeling a house, in order to carry all this energy. Otherwise, it's extremely painful and actually detrimental to
Yes.
our health if we try and step into this too quickly. And then just one other comment, because some people do it through drugs. They've done LSD and then had too much energy in their kundalini, not knowing what to do it, and blown their circuits. So these are things that we need to be really aware of and very systematic, going through a logical process of strengthening our body and our neural structural fibers to carry these energies. And that's what you're trying to communicate.
Absolutely. So yes, you got it. So since these energies come through our nervous system, and it brought us back to the topic on the nervous system that we talked about in another episode. All these energy going through the nervous system is totally putting our own physical nervous system on overload. What happens is the energy comes to the ether through the chakras. It builds that energetic etheric body, and then the physical body is kind of like trying to catch up, but it can't quite do it. So that creates a lot of physical symptoms. Okay. So some of the physical symptoms could be, for example, on an emotional level, we may feel like we're completely getting uprooted, like we don't know what's going on, we are lost, or we may be depressed, or sometimes we may not even realize. Sometimes if we are on this path and we're consciously walking this path, we might sometimes feel very connected to the process, but other times we might not understand or be very depressed, or something might happen. Because understand it like this. For example, if you do a physical cleanse, okay, now you do a colon cleanse, for example. So you take all these herbs and you want to get rid of all the whatever is in the colon and whatever. Then the herbs are going to kind of loosen up all this stuff, and then you're going to start eliminating. But that kind of releases these energies in the body. And a lot of times when you do that, you become nauseous, you don't feel good, you got a headache. I'm sure you're into healthy food. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You go through a cleanse, it's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you have a healing crisis.
Exactly. And that's exactly what happens through this transformation, because we're really shedding stuff. And while we shed it and release it, then it's releasing all these clutters of protein, because we are actually made of protein and neurons, and we're transforming these, so these are getting loosened up before we expel it. We might have a memory of something, we might relive an event, or something might come up, and so the answer to this is, when this comes up, is not to become identified with it, but to realize, to step back and say, okay, I understand, this is the process, I'm getting one of these memories, and just watch it and release it and just let go. So this process is a lot of letting go. Okay.
And so this is a purification process that we have to go through, of letting go of emotions, core fractures, toxic emotions that no longer serve us.
Exactly.
So that the body has more energy so the trapped energy doesn't gobble up our overall energy. There's more energy to flow in the system for the transformation. And the pain will come from the blocks if we don't allow the blocks to come out of the body. And I just want to say, ouch, because I've experienced what that feels like, and I don't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, I compare it like a trapped emotion in the body on an etheric level. It's kind of like having to release a kidney stone.
Yeah.
you know, and literally it is this, because these emotions that get trapped in the body, they actually form a substance. See, we think, oh, emotions. No, it actually forms emotion, a substance, a clutter, a structure, something that blocks the flow, just like you said. So for example, let's talk about the heart, because we've talked about the heart in the past episode, in the episode that was called "Every Emotion Creates an Emotion," right? And we talked about all the things that get stored in the heart, and how certain exercises can close the heart and other can open the heart, and things like this. So when you think about all the emotions that are trapped in the heart, all the pains that we've endured for God knows how many lifetimes, right? Enough on this lifetime already, but think about all the past lifetimes, right? And all these emotions are trapped, and now we're not able to let go, and now we're going through this process of transformation. So this is what we go on an etheric level, but on the physical level, there's always a counterpart that happens on the physical level. And what might that look like when the blood flow doesn't go to the heart, when the oxygen doesn't go to the heart? Now you're looking at a lot of cardiovascular illnesses. You see what I mean? Everything that happens on the outside, on the other bodies, eventually have their manifestation in the physical body. So we really need to become very, very aware and conscious about this process of transformation, so that we stop discounting the body and really realize that we need the body to undergo this transformation. Because the other thing that happens is we can only do this in the human body. So the human body is actually the gift. A lot of times we say, oh, I'm so happy to be alive. Life is a gift. We say a lot of things very lightly without understanding the profound meaning of this. The physical body is our precious, the most precious thing that we will ever have, because it contains all the information of the universe. It contains the formulas of how to create, how to become co-creator in the universe. That's it. It has everything we need to transform. And we cannot do it outside of the body. We die, we can't do it from the outer body. It doesn't happen. We have to be in the body to do it. And there's no God out there that can shake a magic wand and make that transformation, that physical transformation. This is something that happens in the body. And that's why we come. That's why we're here, When we understand that, then taking care of the body takes a whole other meaning. because we actually have the opportunity now to do something grand, you know. There's another thing I wanted to say. So we're talking about the 12th strand of DNAs, and what's happening now is there are many children that are born reportedly with 4 strands of DNA. So science is catching up, okay, with these topics of DNA and spirituality and New Age. So there is definitely a connection now between science and religion, where we're coming to a point where it's meeting. So actually I think there's maybe, I read somewhere that there is approximately maybe 1 million children now that have been born with 4 strands of DNAs. And under the circumstances of what's going on with the planet, is we can expect more and more and more children to be born with 4, 5, 6 strands of DNAs in the future, because this is where we're heading in this planetary evolution.
And if you're listening to this show, then you can head over to www.therainbowchildrensnetwork.com, where we are really working with those people, the indigo, the crystals, star children that are coming through, that have anywhere from 12, some of them have their 12 strands activated, and they're the precursor of where humanity is going. And some of us, listening to this show, are the precursors of where the light bearers or light carriers. And if you read Buck's Cosmic Consciousness, there's this evolution of consciousness, and there's always forerunners that are coming through, showing the way. And so we're really here to help, to have brought the crystal children through, or the rainbow children through, these kids that have advanced skills and psychic abilities, to parent them and raise them. And our job really is to make it more comfortable for them to fit into planet Earth. And so this is part of the process that we're in. And as adults, we're in the process of actually catching up to these children. They're almost here as our teachers, which is really quite fascinating. So this is where their bodies are already prepared to carry those energies. And so as the planet evolves, they're ready to do this. But we're in the process of getting our bodies ready to carry this new energy as it flows through. So we have work to do, which is more than sitting on the couch.
Exactly. So we can choose to be proactive and doing the things that facilitate the process, or we can choose to just sit on the couch, do nothing, and then just be the victim of this transformation, which is extremely uncomfortable, and then suffer and be miserable and depressed. Or we can just be proactive. So let's talk a little bit about that. What does that mean, being proactive? What can we do to actually help facilitate this transformation? So like we talked about, and this is why we're doing this 13-part series, okay? For me, when I woke up in that meditation room and I prayed to have the piece of the puzzle missing, this is what I prayed for, okay? And you gotta be careful what you pray for, because a lot of times you get it. So for me, as I received that piece of the puzzle missing, I believe that while there are many other things that we can do, such as yoga or whatever suits the person, we need to exercise. We need to keep the body moving. We need to do this. This is part of being healthy. But I believe that we have been given an additional tool in these times now to really help in making this transformation possible. So I believe that this is a gift that was given to the planet to facilitate this transformation. And me, I just feel like I'm the messenger, really, and Stephen, Dr. Fitness USA, he's the messenger too, in a way. But it's profound. the knowledge and the knowledge and the wisdom behind everything that we actually talked about in the last 12 episodes is just profound and comes into alignment to where we're at right now talking about ascension. Okay. Another thing, for example, that I want to bring back to the forefront is we talked about breathing. So breathing, a lot of spiritual teachings have breathing or breathing techniques associated with their practice. In the episode on breathing, we learned that 80% of the waste in the body gets expelled through breathing in the form of carbon dioxide. Okay. So now that we look at this transformational process, this cellular transformation, where we are actually needing to dispose of those cells that no longer serve us, okay, to replace them with those cells or those crystalline neurons or structures, then breathing now also takes a new meaning. When you think 80% of the waste gets expelled through breathing. Hey, let's learn to breathe.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking way beyond weight loss. Because in the episode on breathing, we were saying, well, weight loss and whatever, which everybody wants to lose weight, whatever, fine. But think about how just learning to involve and incorporate breathing in our daily life, in our activities, and being conscious, how can that also facilitate this transformational process?
Yeah, I would say most of us, and myself included, are shallow breathers. It's something, unless we go to yoga class or we have a guru or we're taught, we normally, all of us, breathe really, really shallow. And then this transformation, this inner fire, takes oxygen in order to do the transformation into carbon dioxide, which expels all that no longer serves you, which is in your neural muscular fibers. So it behooves you to learn how to breathe correctly. And what I mean by that is the correct in-breath and out-breath. And of course, if you're doing, if you're going for a walk or you're in the gym, learning how to do that in a way in which is the most beneficial. When are you breathing in and when are you breathing out? And are you holding your tongue to the roof of your mouth, or are you expelling with sound? I know for myself in the gym, this is not easy. This is not straightforward. This does not come naturally. This is something my conscious mind needs to think about before it becomes taken over by my anatomic system and becomes a natural phenomenon. I have to say I'm a long way away from that.
Well, there's a lot of things to think about when you are beginning the process. Not only you have to think about the exercise, the form, the weight, and all this, and now you got to think about the breathing too. So the first and most important thing is to just not forget to breathe. Okay, because that's the first thing. You know what I mean? So just don't forget to breathe, because when it's a tendency, right?
Yeah, I know.
And that's why you have a mentor. And this is going to be part of the topic for next week. Why do you need a mentor? Because the people that walk the path before us that we can learn from, and because it is a learning experience, and you can try to learn everything on your own, but that's doing it the hard way, So the good news is you are on the path, you have a mentor, and it's a process because it will become more natural. It does. Number one, don't forget to breathe. And if you can think about it in this way, in terms of bodybuilding and what we're doing, there is a time where there is an effort that you do. So you prepare to do the movement, and then you have to push against the weight. You have to, it's the effort part of the movement. So think about it like a rocket going into space. Okay, so there is that, the rocket's ready to go, and so there is that push, the fire is going, and it's going, whew, right? It's kind of like that.
Mm-hmm.
The breath becomes that rocket fuel.
Yeah.
So that might be easier to remember because you want to use the breathing to facilitate the movement. We always take the path of least resistance. Okay, so in this case, you would, the number one rule, and it's kind of a basic way of saying it, but it's a good start, is that the basic rule of thumb is to exhale during the effort part of the movement.
Yeah, you would think it would be the opposite, but so why is that?
Because you're using the breath to push the weight.
All right, using the breath to push the weight. But if you're bringing in the fire and the energy, wouldn't it be in the in breath? No. No.
Try to
I'll try it.
push.
I'll try
Yeah.
it.
Hey, do it. You know, we're getting there, okay? Because now we're getting to a place where you can do more weight. You know, when you do lightweight, you can do whatever you want, okay?
Yeah.
But when the weight gets heavier, that's when you know.
Yeah.
So I
You'll
think
feel
that
the
what,
difference. Yeah, you'll feel
you
the
know,
difference.
then you feel the difference because you almost have no choice.
Right.
You know, and that's why weight, we always say weight is a factor, because when you get to a point where you can lift enough weight, not only it makes your body wakes up, the body realigns, all these internal changes happen, and that's when you do or die. You don't have a choice, it just happens. But it's a process. First, you got to learn the proper form. You got to make sure that everything is in order, that your angles are okay, because otherwise you could get hurt, you know? So it's really, it takes patience and consistency, but everything worthwhile having, you know, takes time and patience and practice, you know? So
Absolutely.
a lot of times people are having problems or difficulty feeling a movement, and then once we really put some weight on, then all of a sudden everything falls into place and everything goes right, because there's no other choice.
Well, thank you ever so much. It has been an amazing show. So where do we go from here? We're going to be
Okay, so
wrapping
there's
up.
one, yeah, so there's one more thing that I want to say quickly, is
Okay.
about emotions. Okay, one of the things that we talked about a little bit about emotions and whatever, but I want to close the show to really emphasize that, is the love is the vibration that we're looking for. It's the force that produces these transformation. So one thing is to really cultivate that. The counterpart in the body of the 13 chakras, which is the seat of unconditional love, is the heart chakra. So that's why we always say walk, you know, act from the heart, from the heart, from the heart. But it is the counterpart chakra, is the heart chakra. And this is the emotion that we need to transform: fear, judgment, frustration, anger, all these emotions that keep us stuck and that keep our vibration low, and really make this transformation much more difficult. So cultivate love. And other things, cultivate love. Other things that a person can do to help, and this you can read about it online or whatever, but some massages, some things to put in the body back in alignment, sound bath, sound therapy, drinking a lot of water, anything that detoxes the physical body will also help detox those cells, energetic cells that we are needing to let go of. So anything that makes the body feel good and strong, food, eating well, walking on the beach, breathing, water, being in tune with the elements, all the things that make the body feel good stronger are things that we need to cultivate. Watch less television, don't watch the news, don't feed your body, your mental body with crap, basically. So all these things matter, okay, because it all matters. So this is why we need to do it. It's to achieve and become proactive in the transformation and become co-creators.
Well, thank you very much. And of course, as I've always said at the end of her show, don't forget to go to the gym. So thank you very much. It was a very interesting topic, and stay tuned. Same place, same time next week.
Oh no, next week we're doing it on Thursday.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're doing it on Thursday. Sorry. So it's same time, but on Thursday next week for the final show. So looking forward to you joining us then. And so until then, bye for now.
Hey, bye. See you next week.